Welcome to our channel Crime Loom, the place where true crime stories come alive.
Some stories are so disturbing that they force people to question everything they think they know about crime. This is one of those stories. It is about Stephen Griffiths, a man who did not run from the law, but studied it. He was not a criminal hiding in the shadows. He was a criminology student who spent years learning how killers think and how police catch them. Then, in 2009, he crossed a line that shocked an entire nation. Instead of trying to escape, he calmly walked up to a police officer and confessed. No panic, no fear, just a quiet sentence that would change everything. This is the story of obsession, control, and how studying evil was not enough to stop him from becoming it. Stephen Griffiths was not someone who stood out in a crowd. He did not look dangerous, loud, or threatening. To most people, he appeared quiet, awkward, and distant. Yet behind this ordinary appearance was a man who would later shock the entire United Kingdom. His story is not just about crime, but about obsession, isolation, and a disturbing desire to be noticed. Stephen Griffiths was born in England in 1969. From an early age, he struggled socially. He found it hard to connect with other children and often felt like an outsider. While others formed friendships and social groups, he preferred to spend time alone. This isolation followed him into adulthood and became a defining part of his personality. As he grew older, Griffiths became deeply interested in dark topics. Crime, violence, and death were not just passing curiosities for him. They became subjects of intense focus. Instead of being repelled by stories of murder, he was drawn to them. He wanted to understand how killers thought, how they planned their crimes, and how they were eventually caught. This interest led him to study criminology at university. Criminology is the study of crime, criminals, and the systems designed to prevent and punish criminal behavior. For many students, it is an academic subject aimed at improving justice and safety. For Griffiths, it became something more personal. He performed well academically. He was intelligent and capable of understanding complex theories. He read extensively about serial killers and homicide cases. He wrote essays analyzing violent offenders and the psychology behind their actions. On paper, he looked like a dedicated student with a promising academic future. However, some people who knew him noticed that his interests seemed excessive. He did not speak about crime as something tragic or harmful. Instead, he spoke about killers with fascination. He appeared to admire them, not for their cruelty, but for their notoriety. Being known seemed important to him. Griffiths eventually began working toward a PhD in criminology. His research focused on homicide and serial murder. He studied famous cases in great detail, examining patterns, motives, and police responses. He believed he understood serial killers better than most people. This belief fed his ego and strengthened his sense of superiority. Outside of his academic work, Griffiths lived a lonely life. He struggled to form relationships and had little social support. He did not maintain close friendships and had no long-term romantic partner. Over time, this isolation deepened. Instead of seeking connection, he turned inward, spending more time alone with his thoughts. By 2009, Griffiths was living in Bradford, a city in West Yorkshire, England. He lived alone in a small apartment near a canal. His routine was simple and repetitive. He studied, read, and spent long periods alone. His life lacked meaningful human connection, and his mental state continued to decline. Around this time, women in the area began to disappear. These women were vulnerable and often lived on the margins of society. Because of this, their disappearances did not immediately receive widespread attention. Missing persons cases involving vulnerable individuals are sometimes overlooked, which can delay investigations. Griffiths took advantage of this reality. His academic knowledge told him that crimes against overlooked individuals often receive less immediate scrutiny. He believed this gave him protection. He believed he could act without being noticed. What made his case especially disturbing was that he knew how police investigations worked. He understood forensic evidence, behavioral patterns, and investigative procedures. He had studied these things for years. He was not acting impulsively. He believed he was applying his knowledge in real life. Despite this, Griffiths had a critical weakness. Unlike many criminals who want to avoid attention, he wanted recognition. He wanted to be known. He wanted to be remembered. This desire would ultimately lead to his downfall. In April 2009, CCTV cameras captured footage of a murder near Griffiths' apartment. The area was covered by surveillance cameras, something Griffiths knew very well. Yet he still acted. Whether this was arrogance or a deliberate choice remains a topic of discussion. After the crime, instead of fleeing, Griffiths behaved calmly. He walked away from the scene and approached a police officer nearby. There was no panic, no attempt to hide. His behavior was controlled and deliberate. He told the officer that he believed he had just killed someone. The officer was stunned. Confessions like this are extremely rare, especially delivered in such a calm manner. The moment was captured on camera and would later be broadcast across the country. Griffiths was arrested immediately. During police questioning, he did not deny his actions. He spoke openly and admitted responsibility. He later confessed to killing 3 women. Throughout the process, he showed little emotion. His calmness unsettled investigators and psychologists alike. When police searched his apartment, they found evidence that supported his confessions. The investigation revealed the full scope of his crimes. The details were disturbing, but what shocked people most was the contrast between his academic background and his actions. The media quickly labeled him the Crossbow Cannibal, a name that spread rapidly through newspapers and television reports. The public reaction was one of horror and disbelief. Many people struggled to understand how someone studying criminology could commit such crimes. During his trial, Griffiths pleaded guilty to all charges. He did not attempt to justify his actions or claim innocence. He appeared to accept his fate. Psychologists who evaluated him diagnosed him with severe personality disorders. They noted traits such as narcissism, lack of empathy, and a deep need for attention. Experts believed Griffiths wanted fame more than freedom. He wanted his name to be remembered. He wanted to be studied, discussed, and analyzed. Just like the killers he had spent years researching. In a twisted way, becoming a serial killer was his attempt to achieve significance. In 2010, the court sentenced him to life imprisonment with a whole life order. This meant he would never be released from prison. The judge described his crimes as exceptionally serious and emphasized the danger he posed to society. The case raised many important questions. It showed that education alone does not prevent crime. Knowledge can be used for good or for harm. In Griffiths' case, his education became a tool for destruction rather than understanding. It also highlighted the risks of untreated mental health issues and extreme isolation. Griffiths showed warning signs for years, but they were not addressed. His obsession with violence, lack of empathy, and desire for recognition were clear in hindsight. Another important lesson from this case is the treatment of vulnerable people. The victims were individuals whose lives were often overlooked. Their disappearances did not immediately trigger large investigations. This delay allowed the crimes to continue longer than they should have. As a result of this case, there were renewed calls in the UK for better protection of vulnerable individuals and improved responses to missing persons reports. It served as a reminder that every life has value, regardless of social status. Today, Stephen Griffiths remains in prison. His case is studied in criminology and psychology courses as an example of how obsession can turn into action. Students examine how his academic interests crossed into identification with killers, and how his desire for recognition outweighed his fear of punishment. His story is often used as a warning. Studying evil does not make someone immune to it. Without empathy, accountability, and strong moral grounding, knowledge can become dangerous. The case also reminds people that not all criminals fit stereotypes. Griffiths was educated, articulate, and academically successful. His appearance and background did not match common expectations of violent offenders. This challenges assumptions and highlights the complexity of human behavior. In the end, Griffiths became exactly what he spent years studying, not because he lacked knowledge, but because he believed himself above the rules he analyzed. His need to be remembered drove him to commit acts that destroyed lives and shocked a nation. His story is not one of mystery, but of warning. It shows what can happen when obsession replaces empathy, when isolation deepens unchecked, and when the desire for recognition becomes more powerful than conscience. The legacy of this case is not the killer himself, but the lessons it leaves behind. It reminds society to take warning signs seriously, to protect the vulnerable, and to understand that knowledge without humanity can become something very dangerous. The story of Stephen Griffiths is not just about a man who committed terrible crimes. It is about what can happen when obsession replaces empathy and isolation goes unnoticed. He had knowledge, education, and understanding of crime, yet none of it stopped him from choosing violence. His case reminds people that intelligence alone does not define character, and that warning signs should never be ignored. Most importantly, it reminds us to remember the victims, whose lives mattered far more than the name of the person who took them. If this story teaches anything, it is that society must pay attention, protect the vulnerable, and understand that evil does not always look the way we expect.
For watching more amazing videos like this, subscribe our channel Crime Loom.